late to apologize. It's too late. 3, 2, 1. What's going on? Welcome to the Get More Clients Show. Alex Linsky here with my co-host, as always, Brian Downard. How you doing?
Living the dream, as always.
Awesome, man. Guys, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited for this episode. It's going to be a rather controversial episode, I'd say. But I'm going to just start it off with this. Agency owners are hypocrites. Now, I know that when you hear that, it hurts, makes you feel bad, but it's true. And we're going to show you how it's true. And then hopefully with this intel, you're going to overcome the obstacles that you have in your mind to no longer be a hypocrite in your business, because you're probably doing it unconsciously. That's what we're going to cover today. It's going to be absolutely great. It's going to allow you to go and drive your business with integrity and grow the way you want to and serve the people the way you need to without being a freaking hypocrite, because who likes hypocrites? As always, you can catch the Get More Clients Show on our YouTube page where we have the full episodes and of course the clips as well on all of your favorite podcast apps and platforms. If you watch this live, it will be in our free Facebook group, The 7-Figure Culture on Facebook. If you at any point watch these shows and you love it, hit that like or love button. If you hate it, press the dislike button. It still helps us, so we don't really care either way. Brian, let's talk about this. Why are agency owners so damn hypocritical? What do you think is the biggest thing that makes them hypocrites?
Yeah, so the number one thing would be not actually investing in their own growth when they are expecting the people they work with to actually invest in their growth. If you are just trying to figure it out completely on your own and you're wondering why you're constantly hitting your head against a wall, then you're not actually probably investing in yourself to a point where you can refine your skills, actually become a professional. I don't recall which episode it was, but there was a shocking revelation we shared that surprised you actually need to be good at what you do. You can't just bullshit your way through this. Maybe like at the beginning of digital marketing, you could have bullshitted your way through it, but businesses are smart. They've been burned before. They're looking for someone who's actually good at what they do. And if you are hoping that you'll just learn everything on your own through your journey, it's going to take you a lot longer to get to the destination than you would like it to. So you need to actually invest in yourself. I did this. It's funny because let's quantify what investment means. And I'm curious to you, actually, Alex, what it means in investment. But when I started one of my first businesses, I actually made an investment in a developer to help us make the foundation for what the offer would be. Great. So I made the investment in myself and my business, but I didn't know how to actually build a business, how to get clients, how to keep clients, how to sell. So I had a thing. I didn't even validate that thing, but I wasn't actually a good business owner, and I didn't know what I should be doing. It actually took me 3 years of banging my own head against the wall to realize I should probably surround myself with people who are smarter than me, which is incredible, where I met Alex many years ago in the Entrepreneurship Alliance. So you find good people and you get connected to really good people in these types of communities. But It took me realizing I wanted to move faster and not figure it out on my own, to realize I have to make an investment in my personal self and my own personal skills, not just the business itself. So I'm curious to you, Alex, though, like, what is an actual investing in yourself mean? What investments should they make?
Yeah, I love that. I think that's so key. I think the underlying motivation here, obviously, that some people will be like is, of course, Brian and Alex are saying this because they run a coaching program and you should invest in it. Yeah, no shit, obviously. That's the obvious one. But even outside of that, investing in relationships, investing in time to educate yourself, investing in opportunities that are outside of what you believe is scope now, but that could be eventually valuable for you. The low-hanging fruit, of course, is investing in mentorship, and we strongly advise it, obviously, because we do in fact run a mentorship program. But I would also say one thing that Brian brought up earlier that's so important and valuable to hear is, if you just keep banging your head against the wall and trying to learn through mistakes, which we're all about. We talk about go fast and break things. We're having people, move through things. You just have to understand that there's collateral damage associated with that too. It's not just your, damage, it's the damage of your reputation, but also the damage that you do to the clients. If you make promises that you can't deliver, if you make unfulfilled guarantees, it's bad for the client as much as it is for you. And I think a lot of people out there, especially people in POD, they think they're like the only one that gives a shit about their clients. And I don't know why that is. I think we do this in our mentorship program too. Like, we're the only mentorship program that cares. And I think to say that is kind of like a way for us to feel like we really do put in the effort for each client. But I think it's also probably disrespectful to many programs out there that do actually care and that do really want their clients to succeed. And I think it's the same in the agency space. A lot of agency owners are like, all the other agency owners don't give a shit. And yet we have a group of almost 100 agency owners, and we know very specifically that they're like really like going crazy and out of their minds to ensure that they're delivering for their clients. They care so much. So I think there's like this disingenuous, hypocritical nature sometimes of the business of who cares, who doesn't, and what investments we'll make. In terms of the direct answer to Brian's question of what investments we think are really valuable outside of the relationships and everything like that, 100% mentorship. Imagine if you're climbing Mount Everest by yourself for the first time. Your chances of death is much higher than if you climb it with someone that's been doing it 10 or 20 times. Thankfully, the scenario in your business doesn't have as high of stakes. You know, that's the good thing. Your business doesn't have as high of stakes. You're probably not going to die by any mistake that you make in digital marketing, I would hope, unless like you really screw up a client and they come to hunt you down. If that ever happened to you, please let us know so we can feature you on this story. That would be a really weird thing to bring up on the Get More Clients show. But I think that would be the ultimate thing I think people are missing out the investments on. I'd say there's one other main element as well, and that's the hypocritical nature of agencies who don't invest in ads. It's really weird how this happens, Brian, that there's people out there that aren't investing in ads, but go ahead. I know you want to share something else.
Yeah, I know. I do want to talk about this, but I love by the way, first of all, love how we're doing this more conversational based. Hope you guys are enjoying this as well. In your mind, though, splitting up the investments you make in yourself into, I might be oversimplifying this, but let's say there's two categories for the sake of this conversation or argument. I'd say the first category is your actual skills as an entrepreneur, how to sell, how to prospect, how to manage a team, how to actually become a CEO of your company. I'd say that's one category. But then the second category would be investments in the fulfillment and optimization of your offer to better serve your client. I think too often we get stuck in the freelancer trap. When I say we, this is all of you listening, marketers in general, ourselves as well, where we want to do it all ourselves. Like, no, I'm going to learn Facebook ads. So you might think, Brian, I am making investments in myself. I just bought a Facebook ads course, but I know nothing about Facebook ads. Frankly, probably not the best use of your skill. Unless you already have that as a skill, refine that and make it better. But if that's not your area of expertise, you shouldn't be banging your head against the wall to figure it out. The investment you should make is in someone. It could be a white label team. It could be an expert who already runs campaigns in that industry. That might be more expensive than just hiring a VA who knows how to run ads. But those investments in your company in the short term, you will find now ways to better fulfill for clients, ways to get better results, how to create better campaigns, which in turn gets them results, retains them longer. So in your mind, I want you to compartmentalize, like, how do I invest in getting a better result and offer for my client? And how do I invest in getting myself better in my own business? Now, funny, I'm shooting myself in the foot a little bit because you just brought up now potentially a third category, which would be actual investments in not only your personal skills, but the growth of the business as a whole. That could be a team, of course, but in a lot of times, it's going to be ads. You're running ads for your clients. So why aren't you running ads for yourself? Prove that it works. And I've got a funny story, and Alex, you can take it if you want, that Cam, one of our clients, was sharing last night on the mastermind about how people found him, but they were complaining how I couldn't find your website online. Maybe we can get into that in a little bit, but I'm going to kick it back over to you to talk ads.
Yeah, I would say, it's pretty wild how the majority of agency owners out there offer some sort of advertising service. Obviously, there's many agency owners that do just web design or creative design or social posting or client reactivation or SEO or et cetera. I know there's lots of agencies out there that do it, but I think Brian and I have a pretty good handle of the industry as a whole. I would say 90%, if not more, 95%. Run ads, some sort of ads, whether it's YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I even threw Twitter out there just in case, so we're dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. But here's the reality, right? You have a lot of people that offer advertising as services, and they've never run an ad for their own business in their life. And then you ask why, and they're like, well, I'm nervous, I don't know. And then suddenly, they have all the same objections that the prospect they're talking to has, and they don't even realize it. It's like this dichotomy of an agency owner that wants to sell advertising but isn't willing to do it themselves. It's so strange. It's such a classic snake oil salesman technique. It's like, you're going to sell me this product, but you won't take the product yourself because you're nervous about the product. That makes it very questionable and very skeptical. What Brian was talking about last night, and I'm just going to rip it from him, I'm going to take this story from him. Our client Cam was talking about this client or prospect that was saying, oh, I can't find you on social media and I don't know where your website is and blah, blah, blah. And he asked, well, how did you find me to get on this call? And they said, I saw an ad. It's like, great, that's the only thing that matters. I'm gonna run ads just for you, just like I did for me, that was allowing me to find a prospect like you that clicked on my ad, that got on a call, and who's gonna end this call by giving me their credit card, paying me money to do the same thing for you. That is so incredibly valuable when you're able to utilize that, and you can only implement that tactic if, in fact, you're running ads. When you're running ads and you have inbound leads, you can tell them what's the proof of it? You being on this call right now. That's the idea. That's the opportunity. It's available to you. Is there anything else you want to bring up for ads, Brian? Your audio dropped.
I had myself muted. I can do this.
What a rookie. Can we all make fun of him in the comments below, please?
So it's this idea of show, don't tell, right? People are very wary to trust. And if you are trying to tell them something, and this is the same thing as pitching at them, forcing an idea on them, versus demonstrating a real world example of its proof of concept and that it works, that's a big difference. When you can show them instead of tell them, tangible, practical example would be running your own ads so they opt in when they come up with some stupid objection like, how do I know this works? Well, you're on the phone with me right now, aren't you? And you opted in through an ad, so I bet it works. So you really have that like as a way to demonstrate and show them that you can get your own opportunities the same way you're going to get them for them. And I would also say, just to stay on ads for just another second here, if you're not doing ads but you're in a place financially to invest in them, let's get like really practical for a second. Our CFO, shout out Adam Rundle, we bring him up here on the show because he's a very smart guy and has a lot of great insights. You can comfortably spend up to 25% of a customer's lifetime value to acquire them. So let's do really simple math, because I'm terrible at math. Let's say you acquire a client on average and keep them for 4 months, and they pay $2,500 a month. That's $10,000. So to acquire them, you can comfortably spend 25% of that $10,000, $2,500 to actually acquire them. Now this is assuming your margins are actually good and they're on point. You want to have at least a 50% profit margin, so piece of that would be for the acquisition of them. But I think once people hear that number in their head, they get more comfortable with what they need to spend in order to actually achieve the outcome. Because if you think you're just going to go spend, $500 on ads and get amazing results, you might. Chances are you won't, though, and you need to be willing to put in the time and money to optimize and actually get it better. Quick, also a little side story, funny note from one of our clients. I was not really having an argument or a debate a couple months back, but with this client about ads working or not. He was just adamant they're not working, blah, blah, blah. Got a message in his channel yesterday. It just said, Brian, ... ads work. I got 11 booked appointments this week already. So don't just give up and well, that didn't work the first time and stop. For example, like us with hiring coaches, right? We had to go through a couple of different people to find people we really trust. Just because the first ones didn't work out doesn't mean we're going to go, well, we suck, we're never going to do this again. You have to stop just giving up and throwing up your hands and completely pivoting to something else the second you get any feedback that it's not working or any, what's the word I'm looking for? Friction in the process. If you face a little bit of friction and you're throwing it out the window and starting over, you're not going to scale long term. You need to have a thick skin. You need to use the data to optimize. Go ahead.
I love all this because we're talking about so many elements of the hypocritical nature of digital marketing. And this is such a perfect example about this data-driven approach. Just to touch on Michael, by the way, bringing up this idea of the ads not working, right? It's so similar to what clients say, right? You have clients and then they're like, the ads aren't working. This doesn't work. The leads are crap and they don't follow up, which we're going to talk about here as well. I'll give it over to Brian in a second. But this data-driven model, Brian forgot to mention, by the way, with Michael, he actually closed 3 of those clients this morning. He's in Australia. So he closed 3 of those clients this morning.
I haven't seen that yet.
So ads work, right? And it's the same thing. Like the same thing you bitch about, like, oh, these ads don't work, are the same things your clients are going to bitch about. Oh, the ads don't work. Brian just said something that's such a valuable piece of insight on a sales objection that we get all the time in digital marketing. Like, well, Brian, I tried this other marketing agency and they didn't work. And the idea to understand is the difference between a specialist, right, and a general practitioner, and also the reality that just because you had a problem before and you couldn't get the solution to work the first time doesn't mean you can't solve it in the future, like Brian was talking about with the team. Two really important elements I'll break down very simply. I use this as the mole story. If you can't see me on the video, that's fine, but you'll kind of understand the reference. If you look at my hand and you pretend that this freckle here is a mole, and I ask my wife, hey babe, what do you think this thing on my hand is? And she says, I don't know, you gotta go to the doctor. So I call up my general practitioner, I go there, I pay my copay, I wait in the waiting room. Aladdin or Emperor's New Groove is on probably the 500th time at the same place. I wait in the waiting room. They then say, hey Alex, come to the back. I go to the back and then I'm suddenly in a smaller waiting room. Side note, I don't know my doctors have an extra smaller waiting room. Why don't they just come see you when they're ready? Anyways, regardless of that, doctor comes in, he says, hey, what's going on? I show him the mole on my hand. He says, I don't know what that is. You gotta go see a specialist. You gotta go to a dermatologist. I leave, I'm frustrated. I go home. Shira says, hey babe, how'd the doctor go? What is it? I don't know, I have to see a specialist. Do you think we throw our hands in the air and say, fuck it, whatever, no big deal? What happens if that mole is cancerous and then that thing leads you to die, right? I should have gone to see the specialist. It's the same thing your clients are going to tell you. I already worked with this other agency and I couldn't get the result. Well, number one, you still have the problem, you still have the mole, and I'm the specialist, I'll solve it for you. Secondarily, what Brian already said is you still have the problem. Even though you tried to solve it and didn't work, you still have the problem. So why are you on this call if you're not trying to solve it? I think both of those things are so valuable and leads into another element of the hypocritical nature of digital marketing, which is the follow-up. Clients are always bitching, Brian, about, hey, like, and I'm talking about our clients, sorry. So agency owners are always bitching about, oh, my clients aren't following up and now I have to do this ISA and I have to do automation and I have to add GHL and I have to get them appointments and leads aren't good enough. And yet, Brian and I, every single day, are hammering our clients, hammering them to do the follow-up. The money's in the follow-up. The opportunities are when you follow up, and yet they don't. Brian, why does everyone have such an effing challenging time with follow-up? Tell me, I'm going to freak out.
So my honest opinion is that people are afraid sometimes to, maybe it's not fear per se, unwilling to step into the uncomfortable area of shortening a sales cycle. I think too often we, especially living in a digital world where we can hide behind our social media accounts, websites, etc. We're really hoping that that does all the heavy lifting for us. Like, oh, the ad's going to attract, convert, sell, retain, feed your dog, walk the cat, whatever the hell you need. Like, it's not going to happen. You need to be willing to create systems outside of that. And I think the simplest form of following up is picking up the phone and talking to the people who you know are interested but hasn't taken that next step.
So Brian, I gotta interrupt. Did you see yesterday on our group? It's the funniest little cartoon ever. It's two people in the cartoon, and coach person says, "Hey, give them a call," and then the client answers, "I've emailed." The next thing is like, be quick to call. And he's like, I texted them as well. And then the final one is, just call them. And he's like, I'll send another email. It's the funniest thing ever because it's so true. This is what happens all the time.
And it's, you know, it probably is anchored in fear of maybe my offer is not good enough. Fear of maybe this person doesn't really want it, because if they did really want it, they would have reached out to me and I'm going to get rejected. And so many things just caught up in this mental stew of holding you back from moving fast and actually shortening the sales cycle. The longer you wait for someone to get back to you on their terms, the longer your sales cycle is going to be. So you need a system to actually go communicate with them. And it could be as simple as automating reminders inside of some sort of CRM. But that's your agency, right? I want to shine the light back on our clients' clients for a second. Let's be real. If you're working with someone who's outside of our little bubble of marketing and sales, they're likely very, very good at what they do, and they are terrible at being a business owner. They didn't go to business school. I mean, I barely did, but they didn't learn how to actually grow a real business. They just were really good at what they did. They're a great chiropractor. They're a great dentist, a great lawyer. they don't know how to actually sell. It's so funny, on our mastermind last night with some of our clients, Marilyn Jenkins, who works with a lot of family lawyers, is like, they're the worst at selling. They'll have someone ready to go and they won't take a credit card, they won't take a deposit, they won't schedule follow-up calls. So I believe it's your obligation as an agency owner to not only be a lead provider, but be a partner. You've heard us talk about this before, and provide a conversion focused offer. So what that means is understanding your client's sales cycle. Where are they getting caught up? Where are they not taking action? Where are the bottlenecks that you can help them improve, so you don't become just another agency that they complain about that didn't get them the result to the next agency that's going to do the same thing. So
100%.
don't be a hypocrite in this piece of your business. If you want to get more clients and serve more people, you need to have follow-up systems that allow you to remember all the people you spoke to and follow up with them in an efficient way, in a way that isn't hiding, not just hoping they see the email, hoping they see the text. If you have a hot lead and they're not getting back to you, call them every single day until they tell you yes or no. Get a different phone number and call them. Quick side story. One of our clients had, back in January, someone paid a deposit to join their program, and it was only a part of it, and they have not been able to get this guy back on the phone. They've been calling. I called him from my phone, he's never seen my name, seen my phone number, whatever, randomly called him out of the blue. An hour later, he called me back because he was call screening them, right? So you really have to look at these considerations around your follow-up process and have something for yourself and understand that process. Again, make the investments in yourself, in your team, to know how to provide this as a service for yourself, so you can practice what you preach and give that to your clients as well.
Can I say, side note, what coaches in this space are calling your clients' leads for you? That's what we do at POD, fam. All right, that's what we do. Okay, last element of having a hypocritical nature of digital marketing. And if at any point you've listened to this and felt, oh damn, I'm being a hypocrite, don't worry, we've all been there, by the way. Brian and I are definitely not immune to this. In many ways, in many respects, we still are hypocrites. And some of the coaching that we do, the reason we're so good at it is because we have to listen to our own advice, and we're upfront about it, because it's easier to always say than it is easier to do, right? That's why workout designs are really easy to write out. It's like, oh, I'll do these things. But then when you start doing it, you're like, oh, wow, this is terrible, right? It's pretty common. So don't stress over it too much, right? It's not supposed to stress you out. It's supposed to enlighten you to the point of, I should be better than this, because frankly, you should be. And this, in my opinion, is the most important thing we're going to talk about in the entirety of this show. And I hope you enjoyed it. It's about the idea of the goals. It's the goal setting that agency owners do. And I think this is more in tune than just digital marketing, but just entrepreneurs as a whole. But because this is a show regarding digital marketing agencies and coaches, we're going to go with that. It's the idea of the revenue and time goals. Every single person that we have ever spoken to ever, and Brian, correct me if I'm wrong here, they always have two very clear, distinct goals. Some sort of amount of money that they want to make, usually unfounded, usually not clarified. It's just because. It's crazy, by the way, how many times Brian and I will be like, why do you want to hit X revenue? And they're like, cuz. What? Ooh, that doesn't make any sense. What are you talking about? But anyways, that's for a different day. And then, of course, secondarily, time freedom, right? Most people decide to be an entrepreneur so that they have their own job, right? They have their own business, and they have their own calendar they can follow, not someone that dictates what they do, right? Now, we can obviously talk about delegation and how people don't set up systems to hand off the time and all that, but I'm not even going to talk about that. What I'm going to talk about instead is when you do hit the revenue goals, instead of using that revenue to free up the time you wanted to do, the only thing you do right after that is next. What's the next revenue goal? So you wanted to hit 10K a month in order to free up 2 hours per day to spend with your kids. You hit 10K a month, and then the next thing you say is, hey, Brian and Alex, I want to get to 15K. What the is that? You just said you wanted to free up the time. You already hit the goal. Why does it always have to be the next revenue goal? You're a hypocrite, because every single thing you say about how much time freedom you want is a fucking lie. It's a bold-faced lie. You're saying you want more time, and yet every action that you do is for more money. How many of you listening to this show right now take on one-off projects that waste a bunch of your time but made you money, and then you think, well, with that money, I'll go do this thing with my time. But then you don't, because you just keep taking on more one-off projects or more things that's going to make you more money instead of more time. And this is something I'm really passionate about, because I've been stuck in that tornado and problem for so long. I was constantly saying, I want more time. I want to do more with my life. I want to do more with my kids. I want to do more for myself. And yet, You just keep piling on shit that is revenue activities that defeat the purpose of having the time goal that you had in the first place. That's my spiel. Welcome to my soapbox and the Get More Client Show. That's what I wanted to say. I need that off my chest.
I
needed that
I
off
thought
my
it was
chest.
awesome.
Anything
So the
else?
last point we had though, and we briefly touched on this a little
touched
bit.
on it.
We'll wrap up with this, is using data to make decisions, right? Your clients are so reactive. Again, they're typically good at what they do. They're not good business owners. So they have gotten to where they are by not luck, but by just working hard and not working smart. But when you get to a place like Alex is saying where you want to buy back your time because you're in a place financially where you can do so, if you're not making the appropriate financial decisions based on data, the money you have available, your profit margins, what you should spend on your team, what you can realistically spend on your team, then you're just going to be making shit up and you're going to be really frustrated because, again, if you don't know what you're actually doing based on the numbers and it's just based on feeling, entrepreneurship is a roller coaster. I am so adamant with our clients and our team to have an area of their business, their personal life outside of business they can excel in, because business by nature is cynical. You can do everything right every single day of the year, and there will still be shit thrown in your lap, then fires you have to put out, things that are outside of your control that will just bring your energy down, that won't feel good. You won't want to do it. You'll have to have an uncomfortable conversation. You might have to fire a team member, a client. You might lose a client for things that are outside of your control, like COVID, or any number of elements that are you don't have control in the business that make it cynical. Because like Alex is saying, you hit a revenue goal and a lot of times like, all right, on to the next. So I don't want it to be cynical. I want you to be smart with your income, your money, the revenue you're making, the decisions you're making in your business around sales, prospecting, hiring, firing, etc. Use data. And I would say there's probably a time and place for that. If you're a newer agency owner, I wouldn't be so focused on the data just yet. I would say that can become a perfectionist sort of syndrome where you are looking to that as an excuse to not actually execute. If you're in a place where you're wanting to get your business off the ground, move fast, break shit, just do everything and anything to make that happen. Don't play business, do real. Actually, that's actually a good topic for another episode, playing business versus doing like real business. We can get into that later. Teeing it up for the next time.
Teed up.
Yeah, just when you get past that stage, then it's time to really take a hard look at your data. What are my numbers telling me that I need to do to make good financial decisions? There's a really great book, I believe it's called Good to Great, and it really looks at some of the most successful companies in history, and the biggest the biggest common denominator between all of them was they used data and number science to scale. Now, if that's not you, like it's not Alex and me, we're not numbers people, hire that, right? Find someone to support you who's smart, that you trust. We recommend Adam Rundle. If you're in the agency space, go check him out, maybe plug for him. Sure. But I'm not going to do a call to action for him. If you're liking what you're hearing, come join us in the community. We have an amazing one. We put on an event with 50 of our people from our community. It was incredible. And you will start to to have people hold you accountable and be honest with you about the things you are very likely being hypocritical about, because it's very easy to lie to ourselves, but it's difficult to lie to a community of smart people who want to help and lift you up, and they'll call you out on that bullshit.
100%, like you guys do when we're on our team meetings and I'm on Slack and you're like, what are you doing? That's a perfect example. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the Get More Clients Show. As always, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you on the next one.
See you.
That was a good episode.